Okay. Hi everyone, I'm Cheda Mikic. I'm a naturopath, craniosacral and theory trainer. I work with all kinds of humans and different conditions, and particularly with trauma. And today's subject is resilience. Resilience is a subject um, I find really fundamental in our experience as human beings. I believe we need to build and develop resilience. So we're going to be discussing what that actually is. And there are many different um, descriptions or formulations of resilience, and I will share my own personal and professional experience. And as a matter of fact, I have a I designed a toolkit, a resilience toolkit that actually can guide and help people practically, so to give them certain steps. And today we're going to touch upon this, and I'm going to use some of the slides from the toolkit to actually give you an idea exactly what I'm talking about. So obviously, this talk is for free. Toolkit is £20, I think, 19.99 if someone desires to buy that or not. So um, I will be drawing from, particularly from Stephen Porges, the founder or the founder of polyvagal theory. In our work with trauma, we use a lot of Stephen Porges' work. Polyvagal theory is one of the bases uh, in kind of understanding, having a trauma-informed approach to any discipline that you might be engaging with. And I strongly believe, as our life experience is created by a number of adversities, challenges, and stresses and traumas, it's really useful to have that. So some of my talks are engaged in kind of informing people. So we have free trauma-informed toolkit, and now the resilience, and then as I teach advanced courses on this in 2 weeks' time. I'm launching the anatomy of trauma course, which is substantial 10-module course as well. But in a couple of weeks time, we'll have another webinar on that, and then I'll launch it. But my attempt is really to educate people, to give them deep understanding, and some of you might go deeper or whatever your needs are. Just get what you can. And today we're going to talk about some of the theory, and also we'll do some few practical things. So um, just to um, just to start with, what is resilience? I'm going to share the screen here, and so you can actually see this. I hope you can see this well. And so one of the main elements of resilience that I would describe. Okay, let me just go back actually. What I do have, we have McCarthy that mentions the resilience is the capacity to prepare for, recover from, and adapt in the face of stress, challenge, and adversity. Okay, so it's fairly self-explanatory, and the good news is that you can and you should develop your capacity for resilience. So resilience is not something static, it's something that can be developed and should be developed. And I really like that. I studied with the guy, he's one of the founders of Heart Math Institute. And some he talks about coherence, and I want to bring element of coherence and heart rate variability, and that's related to the vagus system, and why that is important, and why different elements of our experience can be improved, can be manipulated in a positive way. So if you find yourself in moments of stress, challenge, or difficulty, you can actually counter that. And I do believe learning any skill in life, it's important. And we are here in this plane right now because we need to develop skills. Our consciousness needs to explore deeper depths of what it means to be a human being. And resilience is really fundamental part of all of this, exactly because of the more resilience you have, more ability to have to be able to prepare to face any adversity, any difficulty, to adapt to the circumstances, and then to recover afterwards. That in reality is key to have a good life, to have a powerful life, really. It doesn't always mean that you can be just resilient and you endure anything. That in my experience and opinion, it's not what resilience is. Resilience is something more flexible, and I will explain a little bit more about this, because your ability to be flexible, to be strong, to be grounded, to be aware, and there are other elements to this, depends also on a number of other factors of your current circumstances, of your emotional state, your lifestyle choices, even your dietary requirements or habits, your spiritual habits. I strongly believe in that as well. Um, so my work is really to work between personal, intrapersonal, meaning with others, and transpersonal, which means also something bigger than yourself. Really, in our society, we are conditioned to be strongly self-obsessed and really just um, work on ourselves and gather as much as we can for ourselves. I mean, not everyone does that, but actually the dominant wave in our society has been for a long time, and often it's not very visible, but for some of us who've been here more than half a century on this planet, you kind of, it's quite obvious. And I think that really it's important, and I really strongly advise you learn about skills, you learn about know thyself and all of that stuff. But that you will learn also in interpersonal relationships with others, in connection with others, and also in transpersonal, something more bigger than you. And trust me, as trust me or you don't. I believe that you know that I'm important, as you are important, but everyone else is also important. There is a bigger picture for all of us. So if you connect with that, that really gives you extraordinary resilience in the face of adversity. Because you might be falling, you might be crashing, you might not be able to achieve certain things or connect with certain things within yourself or with others. But that does not mean you're failing, because something bigger is there. If you have that thread with something bigger, with the mission, with the um, sense of purpose, which is really, really important, sense of purpose. That can be a guiding light. So, and you can always come back to that. Um, so that's one of the description of what I'd like to share with you in regards to resilience. The other element is, again, I mentioned Stephen Porges. I really like what he says, and this is talking more about the nervous system. Okay, and but not just nervous system in the whole human experience. He uses maybe some more technical words, but I'll encourage you to expand your vocabulary capacity and learn some of this. So he talks about, and I like this language a lot. Like resilience emerges while moving between the states of immobilization, mobilization, and safety. Beautifully, beautifully, powerfully said. And there are many, many levels. I explained a little bit more in the toolkit here, but just to say that these are the natural states of the nervous system. So your nervous system always orients towards safety. For human beings, for any organism, living organism, the main job is to orient towards safety. You want to survive. You're here in order to survive and potentially thrive. If you feel safe, that's possible in safety. However, if you feel overly protected and always safe, and the reason why I started this kind of a discussion on resilience and I created this is also because I have a number of clients and I can see some of the trends on resilience are talking about you never look at the negative stuff. You just work and you focus on good and make sure you're always in a good place and you avoid any challenges and such. And to me, that's really not resilience. There can be escapism or avoidance, and sometimes that's really beneficial. But true resilience and true fulfilled life is this movement, this kind of swimming between different states, different planes of immobilizations, of being shut down, protected, mobilization, moving, engaging, and safety. And just to say, mobilization is connected with your parasympathetic nervous system, so the nervous system that regulates your rest, digest, and relaxation state, and that's the repair state. But immobilization also, particularly in the dorsal vagal state, really deeper, it's a shutdown state when the organism is under serious threat. Then it goes into the shutdown as a protective mechanism, and that goes beyond conscious awareness. However, immobilization in safety is extremely powerful thing, and that for some people is this surrender to the something bigger than you, to another state, to another person in orgasm, in a sexual deep experience that you might have with someone. You surrender, and that's really deeply nourishing and connecting and healing you on many levels. So there are a number of elements to this, but just for the sake of understanding what immobilization is, and it is not just a single shutdown, it has a gradients to that. Mobilization is part of the sympathetic nervous system, where your biochemistry is different, you are in movement, you engage with life, you are working, creating something, even play can be part of the sympathetic, but safety element is present in there. And so as we move in that state, you're really expanding that window of capacity or the square of capacity or ability to be in a difficult place, and you come back to the baseline faster. You might fall down, you might get injured, you might be disappointed, you might fail in something, but your recovery time is much faster. There are people who, I don't know, lose a job or relationship and they can't recover. It takes them an extremely long time, and years, and others just spring up quickly. It doesn't always mean a resilience is present there. It can be a defense mechanism and kind of a avoidance mechanism. Just I'll jump on another job without reflecting and preparing to actually uh, um, understand why I lost that job or that relationship. What did work for me? What didn't work? What's my role? What's the bigger picture there? And then with the reflection, then your new adventure, new kind of engagement will be often more successful. Um, yeah, so that's in short what I see as building resilience, and I really, really like that. Um, just see coherence. I'm going to mention actually um, the body intelligence as well. So as a body worker and person who works with thousands of people around the world, all different cultures, religions, nations, but the common thread is a human anatomy, human body. It is the same. So sometimes in learning non-verbal language and understanding the expression of the body and the posture and different movements is highly gratifying, and it's taken me decades to develop the skills that I have now and still developing, of course. It's an endless process and it's a beautiful process. Not always easy. Um, so I want to bring this on board as well, because I strongly believe in order for you to be resilient, you have to understand the kinesthetic elements of the body element to this. Because everyone talks about the cognitive intelligence, the IQ. In recent decades, we start talking about emotional intelligence, which is also a big part of the resilience, which I'll come to this in a minute. But I want to introduce the element that not many people talk about and probably not know much about this. It's about the body's intelligence. So there are a number of elements to that. And one of the words that we use a lot in trauma work and in awareness work, it's something called interoception. Interoception is our ability to perceive interior world. And there are different brain regions from the brainstem, limbic system, and so on, and sensory cortex that actually have that functionality. And so we understand the state of our body. So, I don't consciously really know uh, 20 trillion gut bacteria in my gut right now. What's the ratio, which the strain is more dominant or less, how's my gut the gut brain doing, or gut nervous system, because you've got three intrinsic nervous systems, which is the main brain, the heart brain, and the gut brain. And they all function kind of simultaneously to give you the understanding of your internal state. And so when you start to perceive this and understand this deeper, your awareness and ability to be more resilient becomes a lot greater. Because often due to inflammation in your gut or hormonal imbalance, or you have menstrual cycle, or you have particular strong emotional expression, or particular interior or infection internally, viral or bacterial or fungal or whatever, all of that will draw the significant amount of the energy towards a particular area. So your ability to be resilient, to be cognitively clear, you might have a fog or lack of memory, all of these elements might be present. These are all of these are signs, that interoceptive signs that something is happening within you. And I strongly encourage my clients to be more aware of this. So there are a number of exercises we use of scanning the body, feeling the body, touching, the self-touch, the self-awareness, and really titrating and pendulating. There are some of these specific words that we use, techniques, and that I'll mention a little bit more further down the later on. But ability to perceive your inner state, it does develop your resilience, helps you understand your current state, because your state changes. Your state is that dynamic. There is nothing static within you. So homeostasis is a term I believe is invalid, and I use homeodynamics as a term. So state of your system, your organism, and it is ever changing. And so tracking your state and understanding why your capacity might be greater or less in particular moment could be internal factors involved, but also exteroception or external factors. If you're in an unsafe environment, if you're in danger, in particular circumstances that are not really favorable to you, or they're extremely challenging, that will affect the whole body, whole system. Therefore, your performance might be different. So instead of being self-judgmental, how you are good or bad or good enough or able enough, having understanding of a bigger picture, your internal state, your external state, then you become more accepting and able to discern what you need to do next. So, yeah, briefly to understand and to mention what body intelligence is, or that in a state. Okay, so the coherence. I really like word coherence. And in a way explains how, to me, whatever 50 to 100 trillion cells within us function. I don't have a total understanding of that, but I understand in my own practice of resilience and other practices that I do. When I feel more coherent, which means I'm more in balance, more synchronized with myself, I'm more aligned with myself, and all of these words, depends on which languages you use, but it's good to understand that in different languages as well. But coherence somehow rounds it up for me, because it kind of delivers the cognitive understanding of this multidimensional fields that it's happening simultaneously here. And I wanted to break it down gently for you here, so to give you that understanding. So part of the coherence, it's a physical element. And then you've got the mental element or cognitive element, you've got emotional elements, you've got social elements, and also spiritual element as well. So all of these factors will affect you. So you might be incredibly physically prepared and really, physically resilient and strong and endurable and flexible and all of that stuff, but maybe mentally not as sharp and focused, and emotionally maybe more vulnerable, no spiritual practice or comprehension, or vice versa. You might be a spiritual giant, but no physical body, or yes, physical body, yes, but not the physical appreciation of how your body functions and engagement, or any of these others, but socially really not able to connect with other people, and all of that affects us. And as we go through different stages of our life, we have different capacities, and just understanding the different stage in your life also requires different skills and different, so you develop these abilities. And I wish in society we are taught a little bit more that, I think mathematics, linguistics are great, and studying physics and chemistry at school for some of us might be useful, others not. But this stuff, it helps you really understand in practical terms, in direct terms, your life experience, how important these elements are. I wish that is more available to people. Anyhow, but there's some of us are teaching this now. So please be aware of these elements and also understand in non-judgmental way that you might be you have more dominant aspects than others, and you are better in certain things than others, and certain things are easier for you to acquire than others, and you honor that. But do engage with the elements and factors that might need um, more improvements, because you will be more coherent. You will be, your organism will be more effective, healthier, and greater as well. So, okay, so there are a number of elements to this. What I would say a little bit about emotions, and I don't, regard emotions as negative and positive. I regard them as more depleting and renewing and regenerating emotions. And emotions are not mental concepts. Okay, there are biochemical, physiological expressions within your body. So your biochemical profile with each emotion changes. Yeah, so, for example, if you are sad for whatever reason, you should be sad sometimes. I think sadness is a powerful emotion, important emotion. If you have someone dear to you that is not well, or someone dies, you certainly should not be happy. It might be, it's my opinion. If someone dear to you dies, or it's really unwell, or you lose something, or it's a natural biochemical composition that floods your system and expresses that interoceptive state. The nervous system also follows that, and creates different electromagnetic expression and currents and so on. And then our brain and our capacity creates that emotional sensation of feeling. So there are different elements, but let me just be grossly disconnect them in one. So all of these feelings, sensations, emotions, I'm just, putting them all in one. And so being aware of these emotions, it's really, really important. They are there to be met. And often they are arising on their own without our conscious awareness. Yeah, so as we would say, bottom-up emergence might happen. So maybe you're in receptive states, you have particular physiological shift in you, and that will change the biochemistry within you, and your brain will read that as a particular state, and you will feel that state. The emotional state can also be induced through the cognitive factors. So if you start thinking and remembering and thinking about particular events, you can make yourself really sad, or really angry, or really happy. So ability to use the prefrontal cortex as well, it's fundamental. Not to deny this emotion. If the emotion emerges within you, one of the greatest things you can do is to embrace it, to locate it, to feel it, to touch it in a way, breathing with this. And then usually that emotion dissipates and is met, and then it serves the purpose. If you indulge into emotion and you become that emotion, and I'm sad and I'm permanently sad, that becomes quite toxic. You can't be sad all the time. Neither can you be happy, neither should we be in one of the states, single states. We might have a dominant emotion. But just for your understanding, some of the great scientists measured that each emotion produces about 1,400 biochemical reactions in your body. But that's 1,400 reactions. So basically, I feel sadness or anger or or depression or any of that, and my body is flooded by 1,400 emotional biochemical reactions. Okay, and some of these hormones and biochemical secretions are can become toxic if they accumulate in the system because there are a number of opioids that will be used in order to create different states, or cortisol, or whichever state you might feel. That also is related to different hemispheres and general experience and obviously conditioning that you might have as well for your country of origin or your family of origin or current situation. But please understand 1,400 chemicals each second flooding you. So the skill and art of emotional intelligence is to connect with these emotions and then let them be on the way and connect with other emotions. So that's again this movement of swimming between different islands. So you have the island of depression or sadness or anger or peace, joy. Just swim between them. Have a rest in one of them. Just go, and then also in between them you might reach the neutral state. And we often talk about this, but that's another subject. Just to say there is also neutral state, and then it's a powerful state to be. So if you develop the ability to feel your emotions and connect with them and process them and transform them, that becomes incredibly resilient too. Okay? And that's what I'm mentioning. And let's just also engage. Let me just show you what I mean by let me show you what I mean by that. Let's do a little practical exercise here. So I want you to feel sense of joy. Cognitively try to remember the moment when you were very happy. Something really nice happened to you. You enjoyed it. And just try to remember that and try to feel it in your body. And already as I'm saying that, some of the images are coming in and my face is opening up. And that's also neuroanatomical pathway with my heart. And I feel my heart is gently kind of opening, and my chest is different. And let's just follow this with the movement, opening your arms out. So sense of joy often will come with your openness towards the world and towards this joyful sensation and feeling. And you can just do that. And you follow that movement, you might express differently. But just as you breathe, you look up and you feel open and expansive, and you feel the sense of joy within you. It's a beautiful feeling. And it was induced right now by us. Okay. And so I'm going to challenge you now. As you have your arms open and you're smiling and your chest are open, I invite you to try to feel sad. Try to remember something not unpleasant and try to feel sad with your arms open and your chest open and smiley face. It's very difficult, nearly impossible. Yeah. I'm going to feel sad. I'm going to remember something that is not pleasant, and immediately my face is changing and I'm closing off. And as I'm closing off, I can connect with the sadness immediately. But I'm not expansive, I'm not open. My chest is not full, I'm quite closed, quite. Hypnosis is happening, my back is bent, my diaphragm is closed, my chest is tight, I'm not breathing fully. So let's just drop and shake that out. But it's a simple exercise. You can then move into state of anger and you see how your body will react, your face will react. And sometimes you can do this in front of the mirror. It's a powerful exercise. And I encourage you to understand your dominant emotions as well. And you feel some of that energy or biochemistry in you flooding and moving and changing. And that builds resilience. Your capacity within you to move from these different states and reach that neutral. And that's in any adversity happens in life, you are more prepared. You will recover fast. Even if you get crushed by a particular event and something terrible happens, you will survive that and you will recover fast. And mentioning that all of us go through some really difficult situations in life, ask for help. Sometimes helping hand, it's a powerful thing to have. That's what this social element, the connection, the trust, the co-regulation called it others. That helps us greatly to lean onto some. Okay, and then once you have more resources, then you can have different choices. Okay. So resilience is not just endurance, it's the ability to recover, adapt, and rise stronger each time. Yes, I like that as well. So just remembering something. One thing, let me just see what else. It's a lot of things here, but I like Thomas Merton. I would like to share this with you as well. So to commit oneself to too many projects, to want to help everyone and everything, is to succumb to the violence of modern times. I really like that. I really see myself in this a lot of the time. I have too many projects and I want to help everyone and everything. And it's actually, it's a strong there's strong words here, the violence of modern times, but truly is. And what happens, this overcommitment is overwhelmingness. There is limited capacity that we have. We might be infinite beings, but our current capacity always has some boundary, and it should have a boundary. And when I look back, living in different cultures, and you see how people behave differently, how cultures are different. But dominant culture, Western culture, let's say, but it's becoming a global kind of phenomenon that you need to be busy. I mean, it's Sunday today. I never used to work on Sunday. But, I often, do presentation on Sunday because potentially it's the only time when people can actually come and hear you. And, but if you think in different religious traditions, there is always a day out of the week, at least, where you do nothing. Really let go of that. And the older I realize, it's important that pause, do nothing. That also is okay. You are fine. The world is not going to crash. You're not going to lose, your whole life because you just pause. You came into this states not by our choice. So I think part of this work is also to make correct choices for you. And sometimes, fine, you might have to do 12, 14, 20 hours a day. if that's a long term, that is kind of that it's toxic, that it's not sustainable. Simply, if you look at the biology, if you look at the cosmology, if you look at how the nervous system is developed, you have parasympathetic to rest and relax, and you have a sympathetic state to be engaged. But you're always in the sympathetic or always in the parasympathetic is out of balance. And listen to your system. And I've seen so many people that crash, and often then ability for you to be in the world, be resilient to the world really diminishes because under the state of overwhelm, biochemistry is different, your interoception is different, your exteroception or your perception of reality is different. You're in a kind of a war mode. You're getting somewhere all the time. Like, where are you getting? Peripheral vision, which is a lot greater than our focused vision, can be only present when you're more and more parasympathetic state. Your breath is different when you're in a parasympathetic state. Your bowel movements, your hormonal state, it's all different. If you're always contraction, overcommitment, overwhelming states, that is the violence there. So yeah, I wanted to share that video. Really, that's to nice speak truth to some of us. Yeah, so again, factors of resilience, we mentioned some of these aspects, and make sure these lifestyle factors, that you adjust the lifestyle factors according to your needs, and your needs will change. And you are really responsible how you can't blame others for this. Someone might influence you and affect you, but ultimately we all have a responsibility to say no or yes and truly mean what that yes is or no. And there are no easy yeses and no's, absolutely. The more aware you are of your capacity and abilities and potential in a given moment, the clearer you will be. And people will respect you for that. They might not be pleased because you can't do something for them as, they might expect, but in time, that's how we learn. That's in a job, at work, in the relationships, you learn from your partner, how you engage with them, what they can do or they can't. And that doesn't mean they are less or more for that. They just simply have different capacity. And so just briefly, I'm going to start closing the presentation here. The number of elements how you build, and one of the main things here that I really like, that I use a lot, and I see in order for your resilience to be built, you need to develop resources. Resources are really fundamental. But let me just backtrack to this, because that's something I wanted to mention about trauma as well. Okay. Trauma will affect our ability to respond, to be in life and to be resilient. Okay, because under particular heavy stress or traumatic events, your ability to find solutions to recover is diminished, and that's why we work with trauma. And there are different techniques, and I think that I teach for theory and body work that I use in other things, really helping people to recover from this. They helped me to change my life. So, I learned and helping others. And what I'm realizing, all of these elements and factors being engaged and the trauma elements within me becomes transformed and becomes actually not a block in my life, something that limits and shuts me down, but actually becomes a resource for me. So it becomes an experience that was difficult, But as I transformed it, becomes a resource for me, becomes an asset. I might have a scar, I might have an injury still there, but it's not blocking me. That scar, I'm not trying to hide it, I'm not pretending I'm something that I'm not. As a matter of fact, I earned that scar. So, and some people will relate to that and they will learn from that. And as a resource, trauma is incredibly powerful. And we call that post-traumatic growth as well. So you have a particular event, trauma, and you might not be prepared already for that. But as you work through this, you develop different skills, abilities, capacities, and then that becomes a resource. And then you really, your depth as a human being enlarges. And that's one really so keen to expand this work and touch as many people as I can who can benefit from this, because it truly is transformational. And I truly believe we are here to transform difficult experiences in our life. If you believe in something bigger than yourself, then you will know that we are not here by accident, just, we're here and then we die and we just evaporate, nothing happens, we're here just as an accident. It just, to me, never really made sense. And the older I am, it's obvious that it's not the case. And so if you trust in that there is a reason why you're here, anything that happens to you, and particularly if it was something difficult, but you survived it already, that means that you can overcome that and that can become your resource. That you're developing these inner resources, you're developing outer resources, a connection with others, that's a resource, with your family of origin, with your partner, with your work, with your inner world, with your body, with your lifestyle. All of these are resources, with your emotional states, and etc., etc. You are developing extraordinary skill to be a human being and to engage with any part of your life and life of others with greater ease, greater capacity, and greater clarity. So that's what, there are other aspects to this, but I just wanted to share that as a main one. Okay, let's just stop the presentation for now, and I'd like to leave time for questioning as well. Any questions that you might want to ask? Something wasn't clear, or you might disagree with something I said, please feel free. Write something in the chat. You don't need to say anything if you don't want to. I'm hoping you've seen the presentation. Hopefully the video was running okay. So the question is, I have a client stuck in OCD. Could your kit be helpful? Of course. Yeah. So OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, definitely there is imbalance in the system. That's biochemistry there, and then there is a loop that's stuck in the prefrontal cortex. There is potentially underlying emotional dysregulation. So the person needs to start connecting with the emotional states first. And so they need to feel. OCD people also often suffer from dissociation as well. Instead of being in this mental dissociative state, they come to the body, touch the body, move. And then that's overwhelming focus or mental focus will be diminished, and then you can start changing the synaptic pruning and neural constellations that you always need to repeat. Clearly, safety is a big part because also they will do this in order to feel safe. So it is kind of more complex, but definitely body engagement. And you need to look at the event. When did that happen? So what triggered that? Very rarely someone from early childhood would have that, and that will indicate some early developmental trauma. But if you engage with the events and try to localize the event, what has happened, and then try to transform that event or elaborate it, or then can be really, really beneficial. It doesn't happen overnight, by the way, at least in my experience. So there might be other techniques that might be more effective, but um, yeah. Okay. Could you speak more to any sex differences when it comes to building resilience, female nervous system and oxytocin? Yes, I mentioned about the oxytocin, and there is a difference, clearly. But in more general states, if you feel safe, you will produce more balanced hormones. Your needs to receive more for most female would be potentially greater, although without generalizing, male also have a great desire to be seen, held, and in a way acknowledged. And that is related also to the family of origin, how much in early childhood you were given attention, and how well were you honored as a girl, as a little girl. It's really important to be honored than a little boy, because often I see that later on manifestation of neediness in either through becoming really successful, or maybe you be really good at something, or sexually satisfied, or satience through the food, or any of these elements could be early on connected with that early not being embraced as a young girl. And I see that often. I work with a lot of females. So just you can repattern that. You can actually work consciously with yourself, understanding you as a female, what your needs are, and to really learn to be more satisfying and accepting as a woman. And then also with your relationships with others to develop that. And it is a process. It's a beautiful process, not an easy process. But that's I would just mention. I don't have a pill to say you're going to shift that oxytocin permanently and make as much back against it. However, there are certain minerals and vitamins that will help build capacity as well. They will support your biochemistry, because if you're depleted in particular minerals and vitamins, that interoceptive awareness, inflammation in your system would be a lot greater. So just for you to know that, even adaptogenic support of adrenal glands and it can be beneficial, will give you, greater resilience as well. But yeah, it's another subject too. So. Okay. Any other questions? Maybe one more last question before we close. Yeah, there was a lot of thanks. Presentation was great. Thank you. Yeah, I enjoyed it actually. There's so much to say about this, or manage to synthesize and reduce this to give an idea. Uh, yeah, actually, let me see if anyone wants to. You can go to my website as well if you're interested in any other I do have other courses, and I'm just sending you here in my store on my website. There is um, a link to if you're interested to buy or to buy for someone else or recommend it to someone else if people want to learn more and have better as a tool. Also, as I mentioned, in 2 weeks' time, I will do a presentation, pre-launch, a launch of my 3 years of work on anatomy of trauma. So, and I will explain why and how that can empower people and give them great skills. Even if you're not a practitioner, but just understand why particular parts of your body um, might not be functioning as well as they could, that and how can that be related to trauma, and for practitioners and psychologists and other body workers that are working with trauma can be really eye-opening and help with the effectiveness in your practice. So if no questions, again, very grateful. Thank you so much, everyone. And I'll see you next time. All the best.